There has got to be a better way. Now, this statement has defined so much of my life and career in a way that I really didn't see coming. I didn't know it was, it's not really a question, but I didn't know it was a unique question to ask. And I didn't realize how often I asked it actually until it was pointed out to me. And recently, I was at a marketing conference a couple weeks ago where I heard a gentleman, one of the speakers, say this line that I thought was so good. And he almost said it in passing. He said, "This life is much more malleable than we believe it is." Isn't that so good? Shout out to Stephen Larson. Thank you for that quotable. Now, what I love about the interplay between these two phrases is there's got to be a better way. And then this idea that life is much more malleable than we believe it is. I think that they support each other really well in pushing us up and to the right in our businesses and in our life, because our life is more malleable than we believe it is, even much more so than we've ever been taught, or even, I think, more malleable than our own experiences tell us, because we haven't yet experienced our full potential, right? By definition, we have not experienced our full potential as entrepreneurs, as individuals. While we're still living, we've not achieved our full potential. So I love that notion. And if we haven't yet met, my name is Ginny Townsend. Welcome to Uplevel. I'm really excited about this podcast and the new direction it's heading in. And speaking of, let me take a moment and tell you where we came from a little bit and where we're headed. So when I launched this podcast a couple of years ago, I called it UnSabotage with Ginny Townsend. I had just launched a course called UnSabotage, and it was all about helping people figure out what were those thoughts that kind of hung out below the surface that actually define our lives, that define our decisions, and so define our lives. And it was an incredible experience. I love having an online course. I loved engaging with clients in a new way. I learned so much about every part of it, the tech, the business side of it, the sales, the fulfillment of it, the customer support. It was incredible. I would highly recommend everyone pursuing some kind of an online course. I really would. Also, just to tease a future episode, I'm sure, I'm in the middle of refreshing that because of some great feedback that I've received over the last couple of years. And so I love that I will be up-leveling this course that was kind of foundational in me getting to where I am today. All right. So when I was on stage speaking, on webinars, on this podcast, where I was actually out talking about UnSabotage, for every one person that reached out to me, say like, "Hey, I tell me more about this course. I want to be involved," I would get maybe 2 to 4 people asking me about marketing of all things. So during those talks and webinars and in some of the podcast episodes, I referenced that, my background is marketing, and I would share different stories of different parts of that journey. And so I just thought it was so interesting. And actually, I'll use the word frustrating. I was really frustrated because I was in the middle of this, growing this business that I'd started. And I was getting so many other voices and inquiries about something that I had stepped back from. And so, for a couple of reasons, it really frustrated me. One, I was very much of the mind that, you build one thing, you do one thing well, you get it launched, you get it growing, grow, one thing. But then also, as I alluded to just now, is marketing was something I had stepped back from. I thought I had entirely burned out from marketing. And what turns out is I had just burned out on that model. I didn't yet know that, but that is indeed the case. And so I had this thought when I was paying attention to all of the people that were reaching out to me, wanting to know, like, are you still in marketing? Are you accepting clients? What part of marketing do you specialize in? It's like, oh my word, I bet this is how a surfer feels. And I'm not a surfer, so this is speculative, but here's my thought on it. A surfer would never go out to the ocean with the intention of creating a wave. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? But a surfer would go out to find where is the wave already happening and then ride the wave and have that incredible experience. And so it's like, well, what if What if I became a surfer here in my entrepreneurial journey? What if I paid attention to the market, as we all should, obviously, the market feedback that we're getting? And what if I made this pivot? And so I put the podcast on pause and started accepting invitations to work with people. And I worked with a wide variety of people, and with the intention of figuring out, all right, where do I want to specialize in? What do I want to be known for? How can I add the most valuable, with the most value to these businesses that I'm now working with? And it's been an incredible journey, and I'm so thankful for it. And I'll tell you more about what specifically came out of that later. That's not what this episode is about. But I took, definitely it was a leap of faith to ride the wave, to see where it would take me. But I'll tell you, it's been an incredible journey. Now, okay, so that was UnSabotage. This is Uplevel. The name of the podcast is Uplevel with Ginny Townsend. Now, what do I mean by Uplevel? Great question, right? And I've heard people say Uplevel and level up. And frankly, I just love Uplevel better. So that's why it's named Uplevel with Ginny Townsend. And so what do I think Uplevel means? What does it mean to me? Why is it kind of my rally word? And I simply think it means up and to the right. Your movement of up and to the right. And something that I love about the notion of up-leveling is there is no judgment on where you're at right now. It is forward-focused of how can I do X better tomorrow than I did today? How can I serve clients at a better level? How can I get them bigger results? How can I reach more of an audience? How can I be better at fulfillment, or whatever the movement is? It is all geared towards pushing up and to the right. That, to me, is what up-leveling is all about. Now, a question that you would be well within your rights to ask is, well, why should I care? Why is it important to up-level as an entrepreneur or business owner? And I think that's a beautiful question, and I appreciate that. So a couple examples that I think really speak to why up-leveling is so important. One is an analogy that I know Tony Robbins, heard of him, right? Tony Robbins uses, and he calls it the 2 millimeter rule. And it's this notion that from a quality perspective of our work, to move from poor quality to good quality, that's a pretty big leap as far as distance goes, going from poor to good. Then from good to great, it's a decent size movement, but it's not as big as that first jump. And then from great to outstanding is smaller yet. And then the movement from outstanding to excellent, that is just 2 millimeters. And he uses Michael Phelps as an example, as he pretty much has won all of the Olympics ever. If you were to look at his fingertips and the fingertips of his competitors, and I know swimming is obviously, it's measured in time, not distance, but if you were to look at how close their fingertips were to any of the given races, to who would get gold and who would get silver, just a couple millimeters, not hardly any distance at all. And something else that he uses, but which I think is another interesting visual to support this idea of a 2 millimeter rule, is plastic surgery. And so he said, the best plastic surgeons in the world will only make adjustments of about 2 millimeters, because that's really all it needs to not look artificial, to look like there's definitely a noticeable difference, but it doesn't make someone look different. And so it's this idea of just 2 millimeters. That's really all you need to move from excellent to outstanding. So it's this push of up and to the right. So finding these 2 millimeters, just that one little thing that you can do to up-level your business could make the difference. To, I guess, continue the story with Michael Phelps, from getting silver to getting gold. And then another reason why I feel so strong about this up-level, and I hope you share this desire to up-level your own business, is my husband and I recently watched 2 different documentaries about 2 different climbers engaging with El Capitan at Yosemite here in California. And they were just a couple of years apart, actually, when these instances actually happened. But it was incredibly powerful. So the first documentary was called The Dawn Wall. So dawn is in the break of dawn. And the second one was called Free Solo. So the movie The Dawn Wall was all about this climber named Tommy Caldwell and his climbing partner, Kevin Jorgensen. And they climbed this portion of El Capitan that had never been climbed before. So the Dawn Wall is this sheer, just 3,000-foot wall of granite that is smooth. And so as opposed to other sections of El Capitan, there are easier ways to climb this insane mountain. I mean, very relatively easier ways to climb the mountain. But no one had climbed this blank space from a trail perspective. No one had climbed the Dawn Wall. And so the movie is all about Tommy and Kevin making that actually happen. But people, even while they were on the wall, still thought it would be an impossible feat. So, and this was in 2015. This wasn't that long ago. And it was incredible to watch their partnership climbing up that wall. And you know what they did? They moved their part of climbing up into the right. They moved their sport up into the right. They up-leveled climbing. They up-leveled expectations. They up-leveled what people thought was actually possible from humanity, right? And then the second movie that I referenced was Free Solo. And that was about a climber named Alex Honnold in 2017. He free climbed El Capitan. So without harness, without rope, without any physical protection, it was just him and the wall. And he climbed El Cap in under 4 hours, if you can believe that. And so with both of these movies, what I was struck with at the end is we have no idea our capacity as humans, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as people who want to put good into the world. We have by no means reached our capacity because people are still doing what we thought was impossible just a couple years ago. We're still breaking into what it means to actually up level. And I hope that speaks to your heart as well, because those movies, it's so funny how movies affect me. I'll use me as an example. Like sports movies, action movies, I always feel like they work in me this desire to continue to push things forward. So to up-level my own business, to up-level the businesses of my clients, to up-level the community involvement that I'm a part of. It's like, how can we move what we're working on up and to the right? How can we make a bigger difference or more of an impact or stretch what people think is actually possible? Now, what can you expect from this Uplevel podcast? And I think that's a great question. So every week I will be bringing you a new episode where it will either be me sharing with you specific things that are working for me or my clients to up-level our business, or I'll be bringing in a guest expert who will speak to their own area of obviously expertise, helping you up-level your business in that area. So either way, whether it's me or I bring in someone else, we will be engaging, talking about how can we move our businesses and our lives up and to the right. And so thank you for joining me today as I set the tone, as I share with you the pivot and all of the excitement that has happened over the last year and a half or 2 years. And I'll continue to tell more of my journey as I feel like it would add value and help you in your journey of up-leveling. But until the next episode, thank you so much for joining me, and continue to be up and to the right.